Hello again my friends, this is the boy and his dog, and welcome to the channel where I play, rank and review every game released on the Evercade, old and new. In today's episodes of Everthoughts we have got a few things to discuss. First up, we have the start of a new series on the Evercade YouTube channel, a cartridge showcase. So we'll take a look and have an hour about that, and then I want to talk about an article and interview at timeextension.com. They put a good load of Evercade content out, so they are always worth having a butcher's at. They were interviewing Sean Cleaver about 64-bit games and analog controllers. I'm bringing that up because there was a planned Everthoughts video for today about that very thing. But they were just thoughts, and here are maybe some answers. So we'll have a quick look over that, and then the usual look at last week's poll and people's responses. But first up, a new video dropped over on the Evercade YouTube channel, the first of a series of cartridge showcases, this time about Sunsoft Collection 2. Now this ran for over 5 minutes, which for Evercade is pretty epic. This is a welcome addition, as those pesky trailers, apart from always getting me a copyright claim because of the music, are just so goddamn short, so it's nice to get to spend a bit more time with the upcoming releases. Although they didn't go into depth on all titles, they only chose to highlight 3, we still did get a little bit more footage of each. I'm still well excited for the Christmas game, though I feel they could have dropped the cart in December for full effect. The 3 titles that went in a bit more depth were Euphoria the Saga, Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel, and Blaster Master Enemy Below. It was great they covered the background with Euphoria, where it originally came from, and seeing more footage. I do like the look of it, nice chunky graphics and a menu to swap between characters. From the footage it seems one can shoot enemies and then pick them up and use them as projectiles themselves. I don't know if this is unique to the character, as it shows another character that you can change to swim. It will be interesting to see what the other characters can do, and I'll admit, when they threw the enemy it did give me Super Mario 2 vibes. Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel is the second game to be highlighted, and though I was already interested, after seeing a bit more footage and hearing a bit more about the game, I'm even more looking forward to playing it. Zero looks very fast with some cool looking moves. It seems less fiddly than Aero and more fun, but we shall see. And I love the graphical style, very pretty looking game. And the final game they went into in a bit more detail was Master Blaster Enemy Beneath. Now honestly, I'm much less interested in this title compared to the others, even after seeing more. It looks very much like the original, though due to being handheld the graphics are chunkier and more zoomed in. This seems to be another title perfectly suited for Super Pocket, like most of Sunsoft games so far, to be honest. I really have liked the idea of cartridge showcase series and have enjoyed seeing a bit more of this cart. I must admit it has succeeded in its mission. I'm more excited for it now, so job's a good one. So looking ahead, one would assume the next showcase will be PK4. If they are only choosing 3 titles, I do hope it'll be the on-rails Starwing looking shoot 'em up. I'm very much looking forward to that, if it's as groovy as it appears from what we've seen so far. So what do you think of the showcase? Good idea or not needed? More importantly, has it made you more interested in this collection? Let me know your thoughts. And the second topic I wanted to talk about, well, it's a few talking points thrown into one if I'm honest. It's about an interview at timeextension.com by Damien McFerrin, sorry if I got that name wrong mate, with Sean Cleaver, Head of Marketing for Blaze. I won't go over all of it word for word, but there are 3 parts I wanted to highlight. So first up, they talk about 64-bit games and getting Glover to run on the Evercade. It sounds like it was quite a bit of work to get it working and performing as good as we remember. Well, a lot of optimization. This is interesting and something Jamie and I were discussing in the comments, which we'll get back to in a minute, because the second main point was analog controllers. Now, this was the main thing I was originally going to discuss in the planned video. Are they ever going to give us analog controllers? As with new and retro titles, it's kind of needed, isn't it? I was going to wonder if we'd ever get like first party official Evercade ones, which doesn't sound like it's ever going to be the case, but they have said they are working on third party support, which is a great thing to hear, though they say they ain't making no promises. Now that's a wise thing to say, or we will never stop nagging. Let's be honest, if we get a whiff of something, we don't let go. Online leaderboards, achievements. Now the last interesting point they brought up was what plans for future N64 games, and could we see other consoles added to Evercade like Dreamcast? Their optimization tools were written with the future in mind and are able to facilitate even more releases with optimization. So in future, more 64-bit games will come to Evercade. And never say never, the tools have been designed to be architecture abstract, so they aren't tied to a specific system. They can be used to bring other similar systems as well. It's all dependent on what games are available for us to license, and that being at the right time for release. So, while these answers were a little vague, they also spoke volumes. It seems the system tech behind it all is still pretty good and can offer much in the future. It seems it's more as ever down to licensing, surprise, but also there is talk of optimization and how it was quite tricky to get Glover to run as well as they'd like, but they obviously got there in the end. But that got me thinking and going back to what I said earlier about chatting in the comments with Jamie about the Evercade and the future, and the possibility of maybe an Evercade VS2. Do you think it will ever happen? Do you think it needs to happen? Do you think it's ever been something on Blaze's radar? How further do you think they can push our lovely VS? Could it run Dreamcast? And what about the carts as they are? How much can they make a cart hold? Will we need newer carts for advanced games? All these thoughts I think. But what do you think about any of this? And if you think yes, will there be a VS2 or equivalent? The final part of the question is when? Bear in mind next year will be the 5th anniversary of the release of the original handheld, so we can at least imagine they'll announce something big. But that big? Is it still too soon? I would love as always to know your thoughts on this and any other topic I bring up. Again, as always, thank you ever so much for your comments, replies and votes on the weekly poll. Please remember, if you're watching this, go over to the community tab and cast your vote. It's for fun, but always interesting to see the results. But more is always good, and good is always more, or something like that. So, looking at last week's poll on which cart you guys are most excited about, the results are In as of Friday the 23rd of February. In joint third is the C64 Collection and the Sunsoft Collection 2 with 14%. In second place is Indie Heroes Collection 3 with 32%, and in first place with 39% is Pico Collection 4. It's interesting that such a large name like Sunsoft was to begin with getting the least amount of interest, but now it has equalled with the C64 Collection. But looking at the previous cart, they are very tricky games, and if they aren't something you are into the first time, there are a few sequels here, so I can see why that would keep you away. I was actually surprised that the C64 Collection 3 wasn't last, because it's the third one, and I assumed some may get a little tired of them, but I also appreciate that there looks to be some decent titles on this set. Of course the one I'm most excited about is bloody Boulder Dash. I still want Icicle Works though, Blaze. Come on, we can handle 2 Christmas inspired titles. In the words of Jean-Luc Picard, make it so. At least I think that was Picard. Indie Heroes Collection 3 is second, and I wouldn't have been surprised if it was first. You honestly can't go wrong with this series, and what's great, even though people get to play a majority of these games over last year, they still want the collection, so Game of the Month really does work, and I hope we get many more years from it. Though one can never assume this could be our last year. Maybe they'll replace it with a new idea next year. You just never know. And the best news is, it's only like 7 days away. And in first place is Pico Collection 4. Now I know people moan about Pico a bit. They do have some dodgy games in their collection, but I find that is what's fun with Pico. You never know what you're going to get. There's always a real mixture of games and types with many gems hidden in the rough. And sometimes those rough games are kind of fun in their own weird way as well, aren't they? I think maybe some of the reasons people are interested in Pico is it's got our first 64-bit game, and regardless of what game it is, we will be able to see how 64-bit games run on the system, and this gives us an idea of what we can expect going forward. I have looked through the list of Nintendo 64 games we could have a chance of getting, and when you draw a line through anything that would be impossible, like Rare games, Nintendo's own games and movie license games, the pool is much smaller, and I'm terrified we will get the N64 versions of Clay Fighters. Please no. But there are a couple of Duke games, so there could be a chance for a third collection with Duke 64 and Duke Nukem 0 Hour. But would that be enough for a cart? The only other Duke Nukem game I can think of was a platformer called Duke Nukem Manhattan Project, but isn't that a PC game? I think that's everything on my mind this week. Please let me know your thoughts on any of the topics in today's video. Has your opinion and interest on Sunsoft changed after the cartridge showcase? And what are your thoughts on a VS2? Do you think it'll happen? Do you think it's somewhere on Blaze's radar to even go there? And if the answer to those questions is yes, when do you think that might do it? Don't forget to go to the community tab after you finish watching and vote on this week's connected poll, which is a simple one and what I literally just asked. Do you think we are going to get a VS2 to run more powerful retro games? And if yes, in the comments say, when do you think that might happen? Also, don't forget, not only are the C64 Collection 3, yes, bloody Boulder Dash is nearly here, guys, and the mighty Indie Heroes Collection 3 out in 7 days time, but pre-orders will also open on the same day for Pico Collection 4 and today's highlighted cart, Sunsoft Collection 2. And look out for my first look videos of both Indie Heroes Collection 3 and C64 Collection 3 dropping as soon as I have them in my bloody grubby mitts. Will probably be one cart on launch day and one the day after, unless they come a day early, which we sometimes are blessed by Melia enough for it to happen. And if you've made it here to the end of the episode, thanks ever so much for joining me. Leave a thumbs up or comment if you'd like. Either way, I'm just chuffed you poked your head in for a goosey gander. As always, I hope you're having the most awesomest of days, my friends. And until next time, be seeing you.